Well, you have been misled, and you've been misled by individuals who don't know. Now it's time to set things straight for you here. Tonight, we're going to talk about why the man is the table. And this is a statement that I made years ago when I was hearing this nonsense from individuals saying, what do you bring to the table? Women, I'm afraid when women are asking us what we bring to the table. And I tell the women, well, what do you bring to the table? And nonsense and other idiocy like that. I was the guy who coined the phrase, you don't ask a man what he brings to the table. Fellas, you're supposed to be on top of your game because you are the table. You're supposed to make yourself into the table. You're not born the table. You don't get born that. You have to become that. But you should never be in a situation where you're being asked or asking, what is the table? Are you the table? What do you bring to the table? Because there are folk out there like, you know it, Kevin Kitten Heel Samuels screwing up what I taught. He heard me say it, and then he tried to twist it and say that a woman could be the table simply because she's sexy. No, that's not the way it works. That was not what I meant. I never said anything like that. I never said that you could become the table just based on looks, and that doesn't make you it. So once again, folks trying to rip it off and put a lemon twist on it, that's not the way this works. So let's go ahead and get you all straightened out. Now that you've been screwed up on it, let's go ahead and get you straightened out about exactly what it means to be the table. Let's be very, very clear. The reason that a man is supposed to get his act together is to become the table. You want to become the table. And the reason for that is several-fold. But we're going to get into that here. First of all, I want you to understand, what does it mean for the man to be the table? It means that to be in the table means you're self-explanatory. The reason why it is stupid to sit up here and talk to somebody about, what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? No, what do you bring to the table? Fellas, you are supposed to be becoming a producer, because when you are a producer, you don't have to discuss what you bring to the table. People can look at you and see what you bring to the table. That's the whole point of it. They're supposed to see what you bring to the table. It is supposed to be self-evident what you bring to the table. That was the reason why Kitten Heels got it wrong. When I said that you're supposed to lead with your accomplishments, this is what I meant. Leading with your accomplishments. Notice I didn't say leading with your wallet. I didn't say lead with your wallet. This ain't about sitting up here paying folk to like you. It's leading with your accomplishments. Your accomplishments are supposed to be self-explanatory. Your accomplishments aren't supposed to sit up here and have to be explained and spelled out. There's supposed to be something about you that people can take a look at and see what it is, because your accomplishments are supposed to be expressing themselves in some part of your life. If you are the same person at 30 that you were at 20, and you move in the same way at 30 that you were moving at 20, you failed. And if you're moving the same way at 40 that you were moving at 20, you've double failed. Especially as a man, you're not supposed to be moving the same way. So there's supposed to be some part of your life, or several parts of your life, that are supposed to be self-explanatory, that show that, oh no, this is where I live. I'm not a visitor here, and I'm not a poser. I'm not a visitor, nor am I a poser who just got on in 2020. No, if you actually live there, then it's supposed to be self-explanatory. Jason, well, what do you mean by self-explanatory right there? I mean, if you don't show the money to them, how do you become what do you mean self-explanatory there? Well, there's supposed to be some aspect of your life that demonstrates that. If you are living a life where you are not struggling, for example, if you're living a life where you're not struggling, there's supposed to be artifacts that show that. That's the whole point of a man driving a specific type of car. What the car is supposed to represent is that you're not struggling. Now, unfortunately, you could have a situation where individuals could be posing with it and whatnot, but it's part of an overall mosaic. So it's not supposed to be just one thing, but there is supposed to be something. There can't be nothing. There's supposed to be something that speaks for itself. And then other people benefit from that as a result. So when you are the table, it's self-explanatory. It's not something you have to sit up here and explain to people. For my patrons and whatnot, they got put up on the game extra early, but I want to have an opportunity here to go ahead and go over that with you all here now. Just understand that when you are at a certain place in life, there are certain things that are supposed to show where you're at, so that you don't have to argue with somebody over what your value is. Let me give you a case in point right here. Pay close attention, Kitten Heels. I know you are furiously over there taking notes and going to make this the title of your next program here. I gave you all an example here because, you see, for posers and frauds, they don't know these things. When I say lead with your accomplishments, when I say that you are the table and it's supposed to be self-explanatory, here's a good example of it. For example, the Centurion Lounge. Now, this is a picture of the Centurion Lounge at LAX. There's a Centurion Lounge at LaGuardia. There's a number of Centurion Lounges actually around the world. But understand, it's only for Amex people at a certain level. And that's what it shows you there, is that, oh, we're at a certain level with this. So when you're and here's the point, if you are able to enter that lounge, that automatically tells everybody where you're at. Everybody in that lounge understands what level you're operating at merely by your presence. Listen to me, Kitten Heels. Merely by your presence. Merely by you standing in this room, it is doing all the talking for you. And that's the point. It's doing all the talking for you. It's saying everything for you. And that's what it's supposed to do. That's what your life is supposed to do. When you have a life of accomplishments after accomplishments, if you're 40 years old and you are still trying to figure it out and whatnot, that's going to tell other people about you. You're supposed to have things that do the talking for you. Because if you truly are the table, then when people take a look at a table, they can see what a table is. They don't have to ask what it is. Can y'all go ahead and share my program for me here now? I know y'all are getting double gamed up, and I understand that. And I know you appreciate that, but hit my likes for me. Can you go ahead and hit my likes for me? Thank you. Since we're going to go ahead and get folks straightened out. Let's get folks straightened out here. And everybody here, Richard, Exclusive Cuts, thank you very much for your support in the super chat. And Divine Feminine as well. And everybody on CashApp and PayPal, thank you very much for your support here tonight. Because it's time for us to go ahead and get y'all straightened out. So for those of you who are wondering what that means, when you're operating at a certain level, your life is supposed to express that. When you sit down, when you walk into a restaurant and see a table, there's a reason why you sit on a chair at the table and you don't sit on top of the table. There's a reason why you don't have people doing automotive work on it. There's a reason why that's not happening. There's a reason why you don't see people trying to play piano. There's a reason why you don't see people trying to sleep on it. It's a table, not a bed. It's a table, not a piano. It's a table, not a wine rack. It's a table, not a tire changing machine. It's a table. It is self-explanatory. Nobody has to ask the table, what are you bringing? Did you all get that? Do you understand what the problem is with the individuals who are misdefining this? You don't have to ask a table what it brings. So when you get yourself into a certain position, you don't have to ask what it brings. The car dealership will tell people what you bring. FICO will tell people what you bring. Chase Bank will tell people what you bring. The American Express and LAX will tell people what you bring. Simply by your presence. Do you all understand the difference I'm trying to get through to you here? Because other folk have been out here misleading you about this. They've been miseducating you about this. This isn't some game, because I want to see you all succeeding, but you can't succeed when you got people who misinforming you. It's time for you to understand what succeeding looks like, what it really looks like. And are you willing to do what is necessary to make sure that you are succeeding? So first and foremost, before you get misinformed about anything else, let's be very, very clear. A table is self-explanatory. Ain't no arguing, ain't no talking, doesn't really need a description. If you have to describe it to the person, they've already let you know they don't belong there. Could you imagine walking into a restaurant and the waiter saying, follow me, and then they attempt to have you sit down at the table and the chick with you is like, what is that? She's just standing by it. She never sits down at the chair or whatever. She's just standing by it. She's stunned. She doesn't know what to do. What would that tell you if you brought her to a table and she don't know what to do with it? She's asking all kinds of questions. Well, yeah, everybody doesn't need to be at the table. You can seat some people at the table. They ain't gonna know what to do with it. If they screwed up their whole lives, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. You can open up every opportunity you want to for them. They're not ready. If somebody's not ready to be at the table, okay. But if you really want to cut past the bull crap, fellas, become the table. When you are the table, it's self-explanatory. So there's a reason why I don't go for folks having bullcrap conversations about, oh, well, what do you bring to the table? As soon as you say that right there, I'm like, okay, something's wrong. And I don't really know if I have the patience to sit here and try to get you straightened out about exactly what it is that's wrong. You can't see this is a table. If you can't tell what the table is, you don't belong here to begin with. You don't belong here to begin with. In the chat room there, who is that? NA? I'm not sure who NA is, but yeah, you're going to need to call in. When I open up the telephone lines here in a little bit, you're going to need to call in. So just save your little old comments. When I open up the telephone lines, you will be on deck. As I was saying, number 2, let's be very, very clear. A table doesn't ask what you brought. What I mean by that is the table doesn't require anything. The table has not been sitting there the whole damn time waiting for you to show up. The table is performing its tasks for other people. The table is performing its tasks for itself. The table is perfectly content being what it is. You, however, can gain additional benefit from the presence of the table, but the table is doing what it does. The table is doing what it does. And the table doesn't ask you what you brought. The table doesn't ask you what you gonna do. The table doesn't ask you to bring something to it. The table is accomplishing what it needs to. So the table doesn't ask. It's self-explanatory, which means the table doesn't have to tell you what it is. And inversely, the table doesn't ask you anything. It doesn't have to talk, and it doesn't really have to listen. It doesn't have to talk because it's self-explanatory, and it doesn't have to listen, so it doesn't have to ask you what, if anything, you brought. If you can't see that this is a table, and if you don't know what you're supposed to have brought to a table, if you don't know what to do with the table, get the hell out of the way. This ain't the spot for you. It isn't. Next up, the table doesn't come to you. Tables don't run around. What did you bring? What you brought to the table? The table's not going to bring nothing to you because the table doesn't come to you. You see, by definition, you've been looking for the right table. Let me explain once again with my restaurant metaphor. You go to a restaurant, you expect there to be a table at the restaurant. You don't expect it to be rickety. You expect a certain type of table at the restaurant. Whether you have a table or even a booth, you're expecting a certain type of table to be there. In other words, the table needs to be ready and the table needs to be prepared to perform its duties when you encounter it. Now, if you're not prepared to encounter a table, you've been dealing with deadbeats and baby daddies so long that there's just nothing can be done with you. Okay, fine. But for the rest of the sensible population, the table is prepared. The table is prepared to perform what it needs to do. And you've been looking for that table. Whether it's a table at the library, whether it's a table at a restaurant, whether it's a table at your lawyer's office, you're looking for a specific table. But when you get to that table, it's there to serve a specific purpose. But here's the thing. You had to come to the table. The table ain't coming to you. The table is not coming to you. The table is not going to get in his car and drive to you. The table is not going to seek you out. You have to come to the table. You have to look for the table. You have to find the table. The table is not coming to find you. And if you take too long, you might find somebody else sitting at your table. Or at least what could have been your table. It is no longer your table. But the table doesn't come to you. So this talk about what you bring to the table, no. You're asking the table what the table is bringing to you? Not possible. Don't you see me over here in the Centurion Lounge? What you talking about what I brought to you? Not possible. And next, the table doesn't walk away. It will be there whether you are there or not. The table will be there. The table will be tabling. The table is going to table something. It will table it for itself. It will table it for somebody else, but the table will be doing that. Now, I don't know what you're going to be doing. You might be on the ground. You might be desperately searching for one. You might be dreaming that life is just going to change spontaneously on its own. Good luck with that. Is it a poker table, a restaurant table? I don't know. But the table doesn't walk away. It's going to stay right where it is, whether you are on the premises or not. The table doesn't walk away. Now, let me put that in context of what Kitten Heels was messing up. A woman can't be the table. That's some of the dumbest crap I ever heard. A woman can't be the table. She can't be the table because what are you saying? What is she producing? Well, she produces looks. She produces beauty. Understand something. There's supposed to be a uniqueness to something, an invaluability to it. And that ain't it. That is not it. It's not a situation where you can just sit up here and declare those things. That's not how that happens. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way where you can just sit up and declare value. Value isn't something that is declared. Value is something that is created, and value is something that is executed, but it's not something that is declared. It doesn't work that way for you. You don't get to just sit up here and say, well, I really like something. See, there's a difference between the producers and the consumers, man. There's a difference between the producers and the consumers. And we got too many folk who don't know what it means to be a producer or a consumer. They get them all confused and they get them all screwed up. And there's the real problem right there. When you tell people that anybody can be a producer, no, not just anybody can be one. Because understand something. Why is it that the women can't be the table? Ladies, gotta say it like it is. Fellas, understand something. If some old dude told you that women can be the table, no, because tables are where you produce things. Tables are where you create things. A nice looking chick is not a product. She's not producing. What she can do is she can leverage that to someone who is, but she's not producing. She is not. At best, she can be consumed. If you want to take a look at it as a producer versus consumer, at best she can be consumed, but she's not producing. She is looking for a producer. She's not producing. She can be cute. She can be ugly. If she does, what is the utility? Let's be very, very clear. Beauty in its own self, doesn't have a utility. It is an aesthetic. It's nice, but in and of itself, it doesn't have a utility. It doesn't actually produce anything. It can be nice to look at. It can be nice to feel. It doesn't actually produce anything. There's a specific difference there. Furthermore, a woman is not looking to be a producer. She's not looking to be the table. She is not looking to be the place where you where you come and do the business at. That's not what she's looking for. She does that. Women who are losing have to go out and go get it for themselves. Did I just say that? Okay, I said a woman understands when she's losing. She understands, okay, women understand intrinsically that if they're out here fighting for it on their own, they're already losing. They know that. They know that just coming in the gate. They understand if I got to go get it on my own, I've already lost. I already lost. I shouldn't have to get out here and get it myself. If I have to fend for myself, that is because the men abandoned me. The men won't do it because I'm too much trouble, because I am not productive enough. I'm not worth the trouble. I keep causing problems. I keep tripping over my own feet. When that becomes a habitual issue, then you got to get out there and go get it on your own. Yeah, you got to get it on your own because you don't have any men willing to ally with you to do it for you. Bringing you sex is not important. Who are the men bringing you resources? Because if your looks are only able to bring men who want sex, well, you can get that anywhere. That's not an accomplishment. A table isn't a place where people extract things. Did you get that? Women can't be the table because a table is not simply a place where you extract things. Oh boy. Oh, Kevin is over there writing away furiously. Jason, can you slow down a little bit there, Jason, so I can write this? All right. Catching on the playback, dude. A table isn't just a place where you extract things. A table is a place where you produce things. It is a place where producers come together. A woman's looks isn't a place where you produce things. It's not a value-added product in that way. So a woman can't be the table because a table is where you produce something. It's where you make something happen. A woman is what has already happened. A woman is what has already happened. Women are born what they are. It's already happened. It's already occurred. You cannot compare that to men. Not to a man who is producing. You can't compare that. Remember what I was telling you here before. A table doesn't ask what you brought. He's already where he needs to be. He's not looking for you to bring more. He's not looking for something essential from you. He's already where he needs to be. That's the critical difference. That is the critical, crucial, key difference. He's already where he needs to be. You're getting confused. You're getting confused. You got too many people out here who are confused and getting more confused about it by other people. You're getting confused. Fellas, I know the internet just allows anybody with a webcam and a microphone and a stupid thought to go ahead and sign on and just start yelling any dribble into the ether that they would like to here. But boy, this is a massive amount of disinformation. And the moment that somebody sat up here and told you that you're supposed to be discussing with somebody else what they brought to the table, and then you talk about what you brought to the table, let me tell you something right now. If that's where it begins, we're already in trouble. We're not supposed to be discussing the barter system. This is not supposed to be a barter system. When I was telling people here before about, when we talk about self-explanatory, when I was telling people about where you go to places where the table is self-explanatory, yeah, there's the Centurion Lounge. I also told people about this before, about ladies, you want to go to the golf course. You know why? Because there's plenty of men who are the table. The tables are there. The tables, golf courses are notorious for men gathering together to discuss business. That's not a place for individuals who are trying to get their money and their life together. That's a place for men who already got it together. So that's not a place that you would gravitate to. No, that's just a place where the producers would gravitate to. They're not trying to be at the dance club. If you're a chick still shaking your ass to Juvenile, okay. If you're a chick still out here, still living through your high school years, if you're a chick still out here still messing up and screwing up and not getting it, okay, that's where you'll be, is over there at the club. Producers aren't at the club. Well, they're not at that club. They're at the Petroleum Club. They're at the Millionaires Club. They're at the Waterfront Club. They're not at the dance club. They're at the golf club. They're not at the dance club. And you as a female have to be smart enough to understand that. Because I tell you that there are females who do understand it. You know who? Hookers. Oh boy, did I just say that? Hell yeah, I just said that. You know, women who are depending that whether or not she eats tonight depends on whether or not she is at a place where men who got their act together are. She can't sit up here and sift through a bunch of guys. She can't sift through that. She's got to go to a place that's a good hunting ground. So she's going to the yacht club. Oh hell, did I just drop another one? Kitten Heels is over there right now. Right in the way. Damn, you just dropped another gem. You just dropped another gem. Ooh, let me light some incense to that. He's over there right now, flicking away on his matches. Ooh, that was a good one right there. I never heard that before. Let me light it up right here. Okay, fine. If you've been down there to Miami, for those of you who ain't just visiting, let's just be very, very clear. Folks, do you understand that it is, oh boy, I'm about to game everybody up. Do you understand that it is more expensive to have a yacht than it is to have an airplane? I'm serious. For those of you, if you've never checked into the rules and regulations and fees and everything that is required, you know, it's more expensive and more onerous to have to own a yacht than to own a plane. I mean, you could get a little old single engine Cessna and that will cost you less in fees and owning it than a yacht. When you get down to maintenance, dock fees, naval regulations, for those of you who didn't know, having a yacht, go ask anybody in Miami what the yacht fees, what the dock fees are down there. Ask anybody down there in Miami and they will tell you. Well, for those who know, because a bunch of folks down there are posing. So, but for those who know, man, no. I mean, it really could be a problem. So for those of you who didn't know, when you see a yacht down there and whatnot, when you see them on the riverfront, for holidays, 4th of July, New Year's, when you see them out there on the river and things, yeah, man, that's not a joke. That's expensive. That's an expensive ass habit. So what you're looking for are men who have expensive hobbies. Men who, it's not a place for people who are learning. That's a big ass difference. You see, a lot of you sitting up here, you're dealing with folks. Oh, this dude makes you feel a certain way emotionally. Okay, but for everything else you need, he's learning. Ain't no time for that. You need to have somebody who already knows. If you're looking for somebody who already knows, the places where the men who already know, they're hanging out at the golf club, the yacht club, the petroleum club, the Centurion Lounge club. That's where they are. So when you go to LAX, LaGuardia, Hartsfield Jackson, let me tell you, the working girls, they know where to hang out at. When you go to Vegas, the working girls, they know where to hang out at. The high price call girls, they know where to be. They know where to be. They know who to talk to. They know who to bypass, unless she's just really struggling and needs some cigarette money. They know who to bypass. They know where the fellas are who actually got something. And she's not guessing. She knows where the fellas are who actually got something, and she's not guessing. There's a big ass difference. So if you're looking for a man who is the table, the tables are going to be in certain places, but they're not coming to you. Because did you notice all the places I just named? Those are not places that are overflowing with females. Those are not places that are overflowing with females, ladies. They're not overflowing with females. The table doesn't ask what you brought. It doesn't come to you, and it doesn't walk away either. You got to find it where it is. You got to go to it where it's at. These are not places that are calling females. The females come if they are wise enough to know. Now, the men might not even necessarily want you there, to be totally honest. Men don't really want females at golf courses, but it's okay. That's one of the few places you'll find where a female intruding, for lack of a better term, into a male space is not going to mortally offend the men around her. That's one of the few places where females can show up and it doesn't mortally offend the men. They will allow you to be there, and not just allow you to be there. They are going to come up to you, and I mean, you can be as clueless as you want to be. That's a place where you can learn on the job. That's a place where you can do that if you look the right way and you carry yourself like you're halfway decent. That is a place where you can get picked up and ganged up. Same thing at the yacht club. Same thing at the petroleum club. Same thing at the 5-star resorts. Let me tell you something. Every 5-star resort on this planet, if you see a fellow who is sitting there by himself for longer than 10 minutes, he's by himself. He's not the least bit offended for somebody to come up to him. The working girls know that. All the square chicks out here are either clueless or not concerned, but okay. Ladies, the table ain't coming to you. The table's not coming to you. I know you're used to that at the dance club. Those fellas ain't tables. Okay, let me spell it out for you in boxcar letters. At the dance club, you ain't ever been approached by a table. On your Facebook DMs, ain't no tables there. A bunch of chicks entertaining dudes in the DMs. They done passed up a table so they can sit up here and go play around with nonsense. I guess you gotta be at the level you're at. The tables are not doing that. The table is not gonna be at the club, and if you're at the club, there are no tables there. You're used to guys running up to you. It's not the way that works. I'm discussing power dynamics tonight. I am giving you a great big palette of power dynamics so that you can understand what you're getting right and what you're getting wrong. Maybe you should go to a Bentley dealership and ask them where their customers go for their hobbies and during their downtime. Maybe you need to go there and ask them. Maybe you need to go there and ask that. Maybe you need to hang out in some places where the individuals you're talking about, where they frequent through there. Maybe it's time to learn that. Maybe it's time to learn that. And by the way, once again, it's self-explanatory. You ain't got to ask him what the damn boat is. You don't have to ask him what the golf club is. You don't have to ask him what the lounge is. You don't have to ask those things. If you do, you're in more trouble than he can get you out of. That's the difference. And it makes a big one. It makes a big difference between those who know and those who don't. It makes a huge difference between those who know and those who don't. Because let's be very, very clear. As I said here before with the table, a table is self-explanatory. Well, a table doesn't respect somebody who comes walking in the damn place and doesn't know what the hell to do with him. A table doesn't respect that. A table doesn't respect somebody who's standing next to him and doesn't know what to do with him. You're hogging space. You're blocking the aisle. You're just a bad look. I can go down the list, but you're hogging space, you're blocking the aisle. Somebody else a lot more deserving could be getting over here while you're standing in the way. You understand something? Tables don't move, but they will shove you. Tables don't move, but they will push you aside. Tables don't move, but they will push you aside. If you weren't aware, tables will move, but they don't move, but they will push you aside. There's a lot of lessons I want you to learn here tonight. There's a lot of lessons I want you to learn tonight. And if nobody's gone through the trouble of explaining it, we'll do that here now. I had somebody who wanted to talk to me here tonight. I want to check and see if I got him on the line. Is this Chance?
Yes, this is her.
All right, Chance. Well, we are talking tonight about something that I think is right up your alley. So you want to talk to me, so why don't you lay it on me?
Okay. Hi. I'm as you know, I'm 29 years old. I live in Sacramento, and I've been with this guy for about a year now, almost 2 years. He's 33 years old. He works for a gas savings company. He goes door to door, and he makes commission. And I make about $40,000 a year as a call center agent at this time. I'm about to start life accident and health insurance with Bankers Life soon. So my question was to you, because I know you give feedback. Do you think that this is the last train leaving for me, or do you think I have another chance of something better?
Deadliest words in the world for females today. You think I could do better? Because the real problem, everybody knows about the shopping center analogy, the department store analogy for women. You know, it's just, if you let them, they will just keep going up to the next level, because they always tell themselves, well, damn, if the last floor was good, I bet you there's something better. So women do have an emotionalism about them that gives them wanderlust, and that really gets in the way of getting anything done. So this idea of just holding out for this eternal better deal, that's the problem. I want you all to understand something. The two richest men on the planet, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, both just got divorced. Think about that for a few moments. The two richest men on the planet, and the women they were with still couldn't be happy. Think about that for just a few seconds, and then consider what it is that men think when you say, well, is this, good enough? Now, here's the real issue I would have for you here, okay? You live in California, you're 29 years old. On a scale of 1 to 10, even numbers only, what ranking do you think that the men, not the women, not yourself, what ranking do the men of California give you?
Even numbers only. Since I can't use odd numbers, I would say a 6, because I would think a 7.
Okay. The problem is the 7 is not a good number, because most women give themselves a 7. And if you ask them what is 7, they would say 7 is average. What they would then tell you is, well, most women are pretty. Not true. So, well, I'm better than average pretty is what 7 is supposed to mean. But no, when you eliminate 7, then what you're saying is, okay, you are either on the side of the scale that men want to be with you and they're drawn to you, or you're on the side where men can take it or leave it. Because men stand up and produce for an 8, a 9, a 10. They stand up and produce. Those women don't have to fight. They don't have to fight. They don't have to struggle. They don't ask a lot of the questions that average females ask. Average females are asking about their rent. They're asking about cars. It's either because you're a disciplinary problem or there's not enough value there for the guys who can do that. They're like, I can do. They're the ones saying I can do better. Now, here's the difference for them. The difference is their timetable is far longer than yours. So let me ask a couple of questions here. Do you have any children?
No children.
Have you ever been pregnant?
No, I've never been pregnant.
Okay. Were you once pregnant and then went to a nice little building where they made you get unpregnant?
No. Nope.
Okay. All right. What is the most money that a man that you have been interested in or was interested in you made?
I would say about the same amount as what I'm making now, or a little bit less.
Okay. So basically, which is the average for black men, because black men on average make about $42,000 a year. That's what the average black male median income is. So would you be happy with that?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Would you be happy with that for the rest of your life?
I wouldn't say for the rest of my life, no.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Well, I would always want the man to outdo me and, you know, succeed more than me, not on the same level, because I feel like that's his place. Um, so, not for the rest of my life, no.
Okay, then you have to ask yourself a question. Are you the type of female that men who are accomplished compete for?
I would say, as of right now, I would say no, because I do have some things that I do have to work with. I feel like I do have to lose a little bit more weight, clear my skin a little bit. Um, so, as of right now, I would say no.
Okay. Because here's the thing right here in California, because it doesn't really matter where you are in California, but you're in Sacramento, which doesn't really have the glamour of LA. But the bottom line is, if you're in California, you know you're in California. Do you consider yourself to be competitive in California?
Yes, I would say.
Okay. Competitive for what kind of man?
I would say a little bit above average.
So that's what you're looking for, is a guy who is a little bit above average.
I mean, at least.
That shouldn't be hard. I mean, that shouldn't be very hard to find.
I don't think it would be, especially here. I don't think so.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that you want my help to get an average guy.
I wouldn't say that. I just kind of wanted more of your feedback of if you think that I would. But that wouldn't be the goal, to get a little bit average guy. I would say maybe a little bit higher than that. I mean,
okay, because I'm just asking
a little bit more.
Yeah, because I'm just asking you what you want here. So why don't we just go ahead and get to brass tacks on this? How much money do you want the man to be making? And I'm talking about the income that you would like him to have for the remainder of your time with him.
For the remainder.
Oh, this isn't good. At 29? Oh, this is bad. This is bad.
I would say 80,000 to 90,000, 80 to 100,000.
Okay, you would like for the man to make $80,000 to $100,000 a year. Now, let's go ahead and go over that for a few moments here, okay? I want the man to make $80,000 to $100,000 a year. Where do you live? I live in Sacramento, California. So exactly what type of lifestyle are you expecting to live in Sacramento, California on $80,000 a year? Gasoline is $5 a gallon in California.
That is true. I would say decent life, not struggling, at least.
Okay. Here's the real problem. You all don't know what you mean when you say that. Kitten heels, listen very carefully. Let's get down to brass tacks here, baby. You're 29 years old. What kind of car are you driving? Be honest.
I'll be honest. I drive a Chevy Spark. It's a little car.
I know what it is. It's like the Aveo. You can fit it in your pocket. So you are practical. I will say that. So she's driving her Scootmobile. God help you, you get into an accident on the 105. You're toast. But in any case, well, you know it. So in any case, you might as well be driving a smart car or a shoe. But in any case, that's fine. She's got her Spark. All right. Now,
I actually call those cars a shoe car, but yes, that's funny.
I call it a mini coffin. But in any case, what I want you to understand here is, okay, she's driving a Spark. What do you think that communicates to the men about what lifestyle you want to live? Think about that for a few moments. Don't answer. She drives a Spark. By the age of 39, what would you prefer to be driving? By the time you get 39, what do you think you should be driving?
Something better than that, I would say. I'm not really too sure, but I would like to definitely upgrade something better than that, of course.
Okay, now I want you to understand something, okay? This is where other females trounce y'all. All right? I'm not saying this to be mean. I just want you to understand. This is where other females trounce you. The reason that they trounce you all is because they can actually tell you exactly what it is they want. You can't get to a destination if you can't tell me exactly where you're going. If you came to Louisiana, for example, and you said you wanted to go home, and I'm like, okay, where's home? On the west part of the United States. Okay, that's anything from Colorado to the coast.
Yes.
So think about that for a few moments, because I'm asking you, I'm going into detail about this, and she can't tell me what it is. She can't tell me what she wants, a guy who makes more money, but she can't tell me what we're paying for. If you can't tell me what we're paying for, then you can't tell me how productive he needs to be. Because you see, there's a difference between getting you into a 1,000 square foot home and getting you into a 3,000 square foot home in California. There's a difference.
Yes, there definitely is. Yes, there's definitely a big difference.
Okay, so this is not simply about, do I want to drive, quote unquote, a flashy car or not? It is about what type of lifestyle and what level of comfort you want to have. Because let's be very, very clear. How tall are you?
I'm 5'5".
Okay, you're 5'5", which means you still got to scrunch up in that little old Spark. You're 5'5", which means you still don't have like proper leg room in your Spark. You got the seats all the way back, and still you got the seats all the way back, and the armrest down, and still getting elbow tendonitis.
That is very true.
Okay, baby, you don't even have a decent sound system, and that right there would kill me. I'm like, okay, that's one thing I'm a stickler for. I've got to have a quality, premium, upscale sound system. I gotta have it. If the count of my speakers is not at least in double digits, take this back to the dealership. I can't have it. I'm talking about stock. I'm not even talking about anything extra. For me, that's got to have that. Okay, here's my thing about that. What I just said to you right then, I want everybody to listen to me right now. What I just said to you right there, does that sound minor to you all? Now, I want you all to think about that for a moment. Does that sound minor? What I just said about the type of sound system that I insist be in my vehicle. Does that sound minor to you, Chance?
No, because it was actually emphasized, though.
By who?
Not really, no.
It was emphasized by whom?
You're saying about the sound system, right?
Yes, ma'am. You said it was actually emphasized. Emphasized by whom?
Yes, like you said, you've got to have that. If not, then
it's emphasized by me, but not by her. Think about this for a few moments. What does it say about your life if your AirPods are of better quality than the speakers in your car? How much did you pay for your AirPods? How much did you pay for your car? Your car, you only do two things in it. You drive it and you turn on the radio. Think about that for a few moments. You paid multiple times more for your car. In your case, about 3 or 4 times more for your car than you did for some earbuds. And yet the car isn't giving you 3 or 4 times what the earbuds would. So what I'm saying is that this is not just some subjective thing. I mean, think about that for a few moments. The sound quality from your cell phone is competing with the sound quality from your car.
Right.
So that's a quality of life issue is what I'm saying. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine going down the street and somebody's driving a BMW 7 Series and they've got their earphones on to listen to music because their earphones are better quality than that I want to say BMW is Harman Kardon in their cars. I know it's Burmeister in Mercedes. I want to say it's Harman Kardon in BMW. But think about that for a few moments.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a quality of life issue that I want you to think about that. That's a quality of life issue. So you tell me at 29, you want to be listening to your earbuds or do you want to be listening to something else? Which would you like to actually have? What would you like to have?
I would be like just listening to something else, of course. I just feel like I have to kind of just figure out exactly what I would like before I move on.
Right. But well, here's my thing. You're 29 years old right now. And where these other chicks that got y'all beat, and I think a lot of y'all feel some kind of way, but where these other females that got y'all beat is they actually know what it is they want. They actually know what it is they're looking for. They can tell you the car. They can tell you what the sound system got to be like. They can tell you the shoes. They can tell you the purse. They can tell it to you by name. And you're scrounging around trying to figure out, ooh, I just want a car. Okay. And then the fella brings you back a jalopy. I mean, think about that for a few moments. It's like dealing with a lawyer. Technically speaking, he did exactly what you said.
Right.
And then you see one of your girlfriends sitting over here, pushing this Audi A8. And you're like, what the hell?
Right.
And he's like, well, you had a Spark. I upgraded you, Didn't I upgrade you this Geostorm?
Yes, all because she had specifics on exactly.
Right, what I'm saying is that the females out there who actually get a better lifestyle, they actually research it. They actually know exactly where they're going. They can be bothered to learn. So what I'm saying is what you've expressed is you don't have ambition. I hate to kick you in the teeth, but I mean, what you expressed is you don't actually have any aspirations. You don't aspire. It'll be impossible for you to get to your goal because you don't actually know what you aspire to. I just want different from what I got now. Well, different can be even or worse. You want to go from the blue Spark to a green one? That's different. That's different too now, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And I know I have to build that up within myself so I can actually, get going on what I actually want and actually do research and know exactly my path because you do have to have aspiration. You do have to have all of that in order to move forward.
Well, and the other thing is, let's try this a different way here. How big of a house do you want to have in 10 years?
Exact square footage. I would like a 2-story house at least. About 8,000 square foot at least.
Okay, so you want a mansion, basically.
If I could, yes.
Okay. Have you actually looked at how much an 8,000 square foot home, single level, costs in California?
Not exactly, no. But I know it's overpriced and expensive.
Not exactly. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's overpriced. That's how much it costs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how much those are going for in California?
No, I don't.
Okay. Ma'am, well north of $2 million, and that's if you get lucky. Well north. I mean, you are in 1%, you are firmly, squarely in 1%er territory. And you're talking about, I'll take a guy who makes $80,000 a year. That fellow would need to make at least 10 or 12 times that amount. You're looking for a guy who's making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year. You're looking for a millionaire. You're not looking for a guy making twice what you're making.
Well, now that you say the math, yeah.
I'm just saying, sense. If you say I want an 8,000 square foot house, all you got to do is go to Zillow and go take a look at the 8,000 square foot houses in California, and that will inform you very quickly about what you need to be making to get that kind of house. And if you plan on being married to somebody, even if you intend to continue working so you can quote unquote chip in, this tells you at what the both of you combined need to be making. And the house you're talking about is multiple millions of dollars. That's going to be several $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's I'm being kind when I say a few million. That's if you get a shack. If you go find some broke down fixer upper in the woods somewhere, you might be able to get it for a couple $1 million. But if you're talking about anywhere near Sacramento, baby, get ready to drop 10 or 15.
Yeah, that answer was before you actually told me the exact numbers.
Okay, I'm just saying you're competing with movie stars. Yeah, I mean, okay, but that's what you want. And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying you can't have it, but you can't have it if you're talking about give me a guy who got $80,000 a year. Now, you can't have it.
Right.
Now, that can't get it. But if you're sensible about it, and you can have it, but you have to be sensible about it. So this, you can't get there from here. Long story short, you can't get there from here. You are like most of the women in California. You are looking for a guy who is a 1%er, is what you're looking for. And the reason why is simple, because the other guys are struggling. And that's the problem that you have. You're looking for a guy who's not struggling. As I've tried to teach you all right now, you know one of Jason's laws. Women avoid the average guy for one reason. We use the word average, but the truth of the matter is the average guy is struggling. The average guy has to make decisions when he spends money on things. He's got to make decisions between necessities. The average guy is struggling. So you all are intrinsically understand, okay, let me avoid average because he's only going to be able to do enough for himself. There isn't going to be any extra resources left over for me.
Right.
And you're in California. So you are in the most expensive state in the union. Certainly most expensive state till Florida catches up. But it's definitely the most expensive state in the union. Everybody wants to you call it overpriced, baby. That's I call it California. That's not going anywhere. That is not going to go anywhere. Before we get done, every house in California is going to be at least $1 million because that's their goal. And just understand that's where we're going. That's where we're going. So if you say you want to live in Sacramento, you go for what you're trying to have here. Just think about that for a few moments. Now, I went through that big, long explanation, and I'm not going to sit up here and spend a whole bunch of time on it because you and I have been talking over 20 minutes now. Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is you want an 8,000 square foot house. I'll be damned if you're going to be pulling your Ford EcoSport and the Spark up to an 8,000 square foot house. I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's going to occur. I don't think that's what you have in mind. I don't believe for a second that you're going to be okay with that. I don't think so. I think you want the car and the house and the purse and the clothes to match. I don't think you want there to be some damn mismatch. I think you want them all to match. So once you say you want a 1%er home to live in, a 1%er home as you come out to your bottom percenter car or your bottom percenter clothing, baby, you're a female. That's not going to work for you. That's not going to work for you. That's not going to work for you.
I could actually admit and say that, I could actually admit and say no. I mean, as a female, a lot of females don't like to admit it, but no, I mean, we do want it to all match. We don't want to, have one thing that's not matching with the other, but yeah, I could say, no, I would like that, but I have to be realistic about it too.
Okay, but you can't be realistic if you're walking in the door and don't even know A, what you want, and B, once you find out what it is, it's like, ooh, that's a hell of a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And, but you are making the expectations of the guy that he needs to meet that standard. So understand what you were saying when you got on the phone with me. You were going to go and get a guy who makes $80,000 or even $100,000 a year and expect him to be able to finance a 1%er life. He's in the top 10% of earners, but you want him to be in the top 10% of the top 10%. And you didn't even know because you didn't calculate that. You just assumed. You grossly underestimated what your expectations would need to be financed by. So you were going to get with a guy $100,000 a year and be totally, completely ticked off when he couldn't provide for you all the things you were looking for. And that no matter what he did, it never got there. Because by definition, at his level, it couldn't get there. So you would be one of the 80% of females marrying the dude and then divorcing him, talking about he wasn't doing enough. That would be you. And then, of course, once you divorce him, you'd be really screwed because you wouldn't be able to replace him. Because you're not going to get the millionaire. Now you've lost the 100,000 you're done.
Yeah, that's why I said I have to go on this realistic. I have to match it with my expectations.
Okay, but beyond matching it with your expectations, first and foremost here, I want to ask you a brutally honest question. Brutally honest question here. Do you have a full-length mirror?
No, I don't actually. No.
Okay, I would recommend that you
currently no.
I would recommend that you invest in a full-length mirror. And the last time that you were standing in front of a mirror with no clothes on, you tell me, did you see somebody who could get a fella who's going to bring her an 8,000 square foot house? When you looked in the mirror, did you see 8,000 square foot house in that mirror?
Honestly, no, because I still have work to do.
Okay, baby, that's not a good sign right there. So basically, you're coming to the table with no negotiating power, no bargaining power. So she wants the 8,000 square foot house because remember, all that a man gets from a relationship is you. He's not looking for you to be a producer. He's going to have rules and regulations, but he's not looking for you to be the producer. Primarily, his reward in the relationship is you. That is what his payoff is going to be. That's all he gets is you. And if you are of significant enough value, that is feminine value, that's all he gets. He doesn't get anything else. So if we're looking in the mirror and the house and the woman don't match, that's going to be a problem.
Right. No, I agree.
I want you to understand the primary asset that you are bringing to the table, you're telling me, oh, that doesn't pull a 1%er or a 5%er, maybe not even a 10%er.
I would say once I lose more weight, then yes, I feel like I have the potential, but I know potential is just something that can be far-fetched, but I feel like I have the potential to be that.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You're 29 years old and you are offering men a potential. And you know what? I'm going to spot you a solid here. Let's just say let's just say you have the potential to be a 10. Let's just say that you got it in you, Chance. You have the potential to be a 10, a perfect 10. Chance is offering all the men a potential 10. Therefore, the men are going to be offering you a potential producer.
Right, yeah. I would say I agree.
And you are going to watch. You are going to watch a lot of valuable years fall off the calendar as your sexual marketplace value plummets because you're 29. And let's be very, very clear. Ladies, when you say 40 years old, that has the same impact on men as when men say, I make $38,000 a year to you. Think about that for a few moments. Or when the man says, I make $45,000 a year in Sacramento, it has the same impact to us. When you say I'm 30 years old, that has the same impact to men as when a man says, I work for UPS to you. It might work for you, then again, it might not. It's not the worst thing, but first thing you tell yourself is, well, I could do better. So just understand, you're about to be 30, and that's what you're going to be doing. Hi, my name is Chance. I work at UPS.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you all don't get to sit here and talk to men and hear what we think. You just hear yourselves, and then you just imagine, don't worry, it'll work out. Man, you got to make it work out. It doesn't just work out. You got to make it work out. You got to make it work out. So, like I say, definitely you're in California, baby. You know the chicks out there who got it popping. You know the ones out there who have it going on. You know the ones who got it together and are getting what they want. And you know the ones who are able to pull the fellow who can get you the car you want. If you're not familiar with them, you need to be. But I'll just throw an example out there. I mean, if you're looking for the fellow out there who's going to get you the Mercedes E-Class, and that's really modest to be totally honest with you here. But you're talking about getting the Mercedes or talking about, getting a Range Rover. If that's what you're looking at. And eventually at some point it probably is. You're talking about a big old house like that. You're going to have to be very, very clear about what the lifestyle is that you want to lead. And then you're going to have to be very, very clear about you fitting it. Because you're competing. You're not the only chick in California. Yeah, there's a bunch of throwed off chicks out there and whatnot, but you're not competing against the throwed off ones. You're competing against the put together ones. And you've already said you're not really competitive against them. The fellas have the option of you and them, not just you by yourself. So take a look at your competition and then ask yourself, am I competitive against that? And if the answer is no, so, well, I got some things to work on. She's 29, talking about I got some things to work on. So right now, you qualify for the average black man in California. That's what you qualify for. But let me tell you why. Because you are the average black female in California. And even though the average females, truth be told, 95% of you are average, and you all are competing for the top 10% of men. Folks talk about 80% of females. Bullcrap. 95% of the females are competing for the top 10% of the men. Now, you'll settle for that top 20%, but you're really trying to get the top 10.
I would say that's about right, yeah.
Okay. Then what that tells you how much choice those fellas have. That tells you the options that they have. And that tells you where you fall in the pecking order. He can get any chick to drive that Range Rover. He can get anybody to do that. There's not a special slot reserved for you. And
right.
If you don't think, remember, you're the only reward that he gets. If you don't think more of yourself than to bring him a better reward, then you're just watching the time fall off the calendar, and you may end up like most black women today, putting up a bunch of pictures on social media, getting a bunch of likes from a bunch of dudes who aren't going to do anything physical for you. Likes are a form of currency to females today, which is the most insane thing imaginable. Because you all, what it is having likes is a supplement. Women accept likes, and social media has become really a substitute for genuine things until they just can't stand it anymore. And then they go like, okay, I got to have the real thing. And you've wasted so much time. There are no options available left to give you the real thing. That's where you end up at. So You said what you needed there. What I would recommend for you also is you need to research the type of lifestyle that you want to live. You need to ask yourself, what do I want to be driving in 5 years? And by the way, at 35, you will in no way be competitive. So you really want to get things going here in the next 12 months. But yeah, you need to ask yourself, okay, I got to get it together in the next 12 months because by 35, what do I want to be driving specifically? You need to start researching cars. YouTube is filled with car reviews. You need to stop just looking at them and research them. You need to know exactly what you want to drive, what kind of handbag you want to have, what kind of shoes, what kind of house, in what kind of neighborhood. And then you can put together, okay, this is what the guy needs to be making for the fella who's going to be able to do that. Now, that fella is looking for what kind of female to do that for. And then that's when you get to say, okay, I need to become that.
Okay.
Or get the guy at UPS. Trust me, the fella at UPS will take you like you are right now. Right now, you can definitely get a FedEx driver for certain. So I'm looking at you right here. You can get a FedEx driver for certain, with no extra work. First of all, what's wrong with a FedEx driver? That's the first thing.
Nothing. There's nothing.
I'm glad to hear that. Don't talk too much crap because, like I say, that's probably where you're going to end up at anyway. Because what I'm saying is you're 29 years old, and if you haven't been motivated before 29, I'm doubtful that you're going to suddenly kick it into gear at 29 going on 30. So be polite to the delivery drivers from Amazon. Be polite to him. Matter of fact,
I'm always polite.
Well, matter of fact, like I say, you might be able to string 3 of them niggas together and build a bear, build a boo. Well, I'm not sure, but what I am saying is, you're certainly competitive for them.
Well, that means I just gotta go ahead and I guess be nice to the FedEx guys and the guys that work at the convenience stores, I guess.
Like I say, I mean, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. However, I will tell you one thing, your ability to pull is not going to get better. Because by the time you hit 40, baby, the FedEx drivers are going around you. I mean, men are really looking for a woman in their 20s who's a clean slate. And the older you get, the less leverage you have. So I'm just going to tell you, as time goes on, you're not the prime candidate for anything. So if you haven't already met the guy who's formed an attachment, you're done. New fellas are going to talk game, but they're like, I don't have to invest in you. How am I going to invest in a chick in her 30s or 40s? What are you expecting him to invest in?
Right.
When you got chicks 10 years younger than you at that point. So you all lose track of that. Legally speaking, when you're in your 20s, you don't have a lot of competition because there's nothing legal that's a lot younger than you. By the time you get 30, baby, there's a decade worth of females who are younger than you. You've lost track. You slid out of the frame. Your competition is 10 years younger. By the time you get 35, they're 15. And remember, men ain't really trying to fool with you past 40 or 41 for the ones who will fool with 40s. So at that point, you've aged out. So you've got, by the time you get in 31, 32, you've got way more competition younger than you do have older than you anymore. And you're still out there on the battlefield trying to bring home some wins. Y'all need to check out and cash out of the casino as quickly as possible. Forget the bull crap. Find you a fellow who's about something. Hold on to that nigga for dear life and tell him, look, baby, this is my last relationship. It's ending in all white or all black. So is it going to be a wedding or a funeral? Your choice. You know, your grandmamas, your grandmamas had that idea. Your grandmothers had that idea. Your great-grandmothers had, well, I'm sorry, in the modern generation, you got the 35-year-old grandmother. So your great-grandmothers had that idea. Your great-great-grandmamas understood that. That if she got with a fellow who was about something, yeah, there's not 50 of him. And back then you didn't have the internet to deceive females into thinking that they had a far larger pool of eligible, well-to-do men than they actually do. Back in the day, you had the
Yeah.
guys you knew in Sacramento, and that was it. So if you found one, you understood I better hold on to him for dear life. You couldn't pretend that there was this large pool. Well, if the fellas in Sacramento ain't gonna act right, I'll go down to Los Angeles. I'll go down to San Diego. I'll go down to San Francisco. See, now you can fool yourselves into believing that that's an option when in reality, all you're gonna do is go visit there to get laid on. But nobody's taking you off the market. Your great grandmama's understood. I'm not going to let dudes sit up here and just run through me. I'm going to grab this first fella here, right here, and this is it. I'm pitching camp. We staying here till death do us part. And I'm not going to fool myself into believing there's a better option. This is the one. He's it. This is the horse I'm going home on. Meanwhile, her friends were out there jumping from one place to another, and they spent the rest of their lives running around and never got settled again. And that's really what the statistics show. And your peers are doing the same thing now, which is why marriage is lower than it's ever been. Baby, you ain't got time like that. So on top of everything else I told you, you don't have time out here to be doing a bunch of picking through things and, ooh, let me hold out. You don't really have years to do that with. What little bit of leverage you had is about to expire. So I'm going to recommend you put your foot to the floor. Don't just grab anything. But you certainly need to be deadly, deadly, deadly serious about what you're going to do. If you rate yourself, if you think that men rate you as a 6, start asking yourself, am I willing to live a 6's life for the rest of my days?
Definitely not.
Well, then go take a look at the chicks who are living what you want and understand that's your mentor. That's your coach.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and do that. And think it was nice talking to you, Jason. And I listen to your broadcast all the time. And I'm just glad I got to speak with you and get some of your feedback.
Well, thank you very much for giving us a call. Please give me a call back in 6 months. I'd like to hear how things are going.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Well, like I say, folks, it's just one of those things where, yeah, boy, if you hang out there long enough, she's in Sacramento, California. Sacramento, California, and she is holding out hope. 8,000 square foot house. Jason, I think I can pull a fella that makes $80,000 a year. Do you think he can get me that McMansion? I think he can get you that McSandwich. I don't know about the McMansion, though. She's looking for a fella who's the table. She's like, I'm looking for a guy who is the table, Jason. 8,000 square foot house. Can I get the man who is the table? Maybe we can write this eviction notice up on the table. I don't know if you can get the table, though. Might be able to get the table leg. I don't know if we can do that. So, all right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines here. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of your red pill, MGTOW, high value posers, alpha male buffoons, and all the rest of them will be stealing tonight's program, furiously rewriting it. Old Kevin Samuels is going to go over there and go retitle it and everything else. Watch him start talking about the table now. Look for it. I don't know. He might not call it the table. He might call it the chair, the tray, something like that, The woman is the tray or the woman is the chair. All right. They're just trolling me now. But the number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. You can go ahead and give us a call here tonight. I want to thank everyone and everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat. Thank you very much to all of you. I see you out there doing the most, and we appreciate this. This will be your opportunity to go ahead and give us a call here also. And there's a lot to learn about that because the old females who couldn't teach you all any better started as the young females who didn't know any better. And that's where it really begins. The old females who couldn't help you all and the old men who couldn't help y'all, by the way. The old men who couldn't help you. They started as young people who didn't know any better. These old folks getting it wrong, they started as young folks who couldn't get it right. So you need somebody who's going to straighten this out for you here and understand something. She was honest in what she wanted, and there was nothing wrong in what she wanted, except if you're expecting something you don't qualify for. They're watching years fall off the calendar, and it's like they're coming in there, oh, I know I don't qualify for it. What can I get? I know I can't get it, but what do I qualify for? Well, you don't qualify for it. And it used to be their girlfriends didn't just let them sit around for decades and whatnot. It used to be the females didn't like to walk around in ratty packs, man. It used to be that they wouldn't do that. It used to be they wouldn't just come out there, just looking any old kind of way and running around any old kind of way. It used to be that didn't happen. Now, they can be as raggedy as they please, and it's a group of them. It's a herd of them. They're playing the music. They're going to the clubs. They're talking to each other. They're handing out makeup tips. They're telling you the guys are only concerned about, they're sitting around talking about Lizzo got a cute face. What? Has said no man ever. Well, Lizzo got a cute face. I figure you'd be all right with that. See, men are not allowed to circulate and recycle, misnomers with each other. We're not allowed to do that. Men are not allowed to circulate their falsehoods to each other. We're not allowed to do that. If we try that, things end badly. We don't get to just sit up here and regurgitate and recycle and circulate nonsense. We don't get to do that. The world wakes us up real damn fast. The world wakes us up real damn fast. They don't let us off the hook. We do it wrong. It puts boots to asses. That's all it does. The world doesn't give us 15 chances to get that right. It doesn't give us 1,000 times to sit here and get that right. You get one. That's all you get. As men, you get one, and if it doesn't work, then that's it. You've lost it. Didn't used to have a bunch of folks to sit here and reinforce it for you. Didn't used to have that either. Now they got plenty of that going on. Now they have a bunch of that happening. They got support groups. They got support circles, and nobody knows. You'll have 100 females sitting at the club and none of them know exactly what it is, except the ones who are trying to hustle. Now, that's the reason they call themselves hustlers. Those females call themselves hustlers because they actually know what the car is. They're really comparing themselves to the other females. And I was talking to you all before about the program that I did about what makes you an alpha female. You're an alpha female compared to other females. I want you to think about that for a few moments with the young lady who just got off the phone with me here. Compared to a chick who can tell you what a Bentayga is. Compared to a chick who can tell you what an Aston Martin is. Compared to a chick who can tell you what a Range Rover is. Compared to them, yes, those chicks are the alpha. Because they can actually tell you exactly what it is they're looking for. They can tell you exactly what it is they want. There's not a lot of ambiguity and a bunch of guessing going on. That's the difference. There's not a lot of ambiguity and there's not a lot of guesswork going on. So because that's not happening, they've got a much better idea of what to do. And they got a much better idea of how to handle it. And meanwhile, these other females are trying to guess their way through it. So, like I say, you have a lot you can learn here. You have a lot you can learn. We're talking tonight about being the table. We're talking tonight about what makes you the table. And the fact that with all this talk about men and women saying, oh, what do you bring to the table? That's a very easy way to get an online argument and an online spat going with people. Talk about what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? When you're dealing from a position of power, because remember, I don't discuss dating. I'm not interested in dating. I'm interested in power dynamics. When you're talking about dealing with it from a position of power, the person in the most powerful position doesn't have to say anything. The person in the most powerful position does things. They don't have to say anything. Which is why if you're in the most powerful position, it's self-explanatory. It doesn't have to be explained. Everybody can see it is what it is. The president of the United States doesn't have to say, I'm president of the United States. When you see that motorcade come up, oh, that's the president. The CEO of your job, the president of the company that you work for, they don't have to say it. It's self-explanatory. They don't have to tell you. When you owe one of these companies money, it's self-explanatory. They don't have to tell you what it is. Everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows what it's supposed to be. And they either fall in line or they just fall out. But everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. That's the difference. That's the difference. Well, I've given the opportunity for him to go ahead and give us a call tonight, but I guess I covered the bases so well on everything. I guess that's a very good sign. We got thousands of people listening here right now, but I guess I covered everything so well that they feel like, hell, Jason, there's nothing more to add to it. So you know what? I'll go ahead and wrap things up for you here then. I'm glad we were able to get that done. I think that's a good sign as well. I like it when all your questions are properly answered. That way we don't have to worry about you getting misinformation from somewhere. So now you know what it means. You don't have to ask what the table is anymore. I hope this ends that discussion about that. You don't have to ask what the table is anymore. You don't have to ask what you bring to the table. No more having discussed the table. You all understand when you are the table, you don't have to ask what you brought to the table. It's self-evident. You can look at me. I'm a table. It's obvious. I want to thank you all for showing up for tonight's program here. We might do this again tomorrow night. I'll have to see how things go. We might do this again tomorrow night. Everybody was loving what we did here on Patreon for the last couple of weeks. That's been really, really good. I got something else I want to discuss with them here this week, but I'm glad to have you all with us here tonight. This concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business